be because I was recording, or I don't know. Usually I was able to.
When I hover over the handout, I can. It looks like
there is no presenter basically.
Sorry.
There is no presenter basically in this spell. So changing this to Muhammad.
Okay.
Now I think you can. I think now you can do it.
Okay. Yes. I can do that. I don't want to be on that. So can Hamid, you become a presenter also and move that screen? Do you have that screen or no? If not, I can do that. No worries. This is what I was.
It's okay. I can do it. If you want, I can show my screen, and I just open that document and show you the screen. Let me just.
Right. Yes, please. Can you?
But I have I have this PDF only.
Yes.
And
okay, then don't worry. I will take 1 hour from this shit. But this is what I told Zainab and Joseph to help me out, and they. Joseph, can you see?
No. Oh, now I'm seeing you.
Now Joseph is here.
Joseph, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
There is a distortion in when you are speaking, Joseph. Then close this door. Joseph, can you see? Can you?
Are you able to do it better now?
But Joseph, still voice is not up to the mark. Matthew, can you guys hear him well or no? I could.
No, it's very difficult to understand him.
I can hear Matthew and Hamid pretty well.
I can hear you pretty well, Mohammed, inside.
Okay. So then probably I need to do this thing. Let me see. Okay, let me show you guys screen. Can you please Joseph, while you are showing, can you please stop showing the screen?
Can you see the screen over here or no?
We can't really, Joseph, hear you any single word. Can you show stop the presentation, please? This was a. Hamid, can you make me a presenter again? Okay, thank you. So now I'm showing the screen. Let me know, can you, what you guys can see?
I can see your desktop.
Desktop, okay. Okay, I need to bring that here.
Yep, I see that now.
Okay, so we are waiting for another, is Ram Philip going to join or no? Okay, so let's discuss this thing. Not a very good practice by Zainab and Joseph. Screw, waste our 30 minutes. Obviously the way I'm going to do, I'm going to tell about this, and then you guys can make an intro, right? So about yourself, what you guys do. And then after that, I will do some housekeeping items, these, and After that, I think intro we will start, and I think in the past, right? So I will start with most probably Hamid, right? So Hamid, Matthew is more on the insurance side, so he can share his things about that, how the fund managers can get benefit from getting the insurance and all that, but you need to mention the risk. This clip has not shown up yet, but anyway, these are the some, probably Hamid, this is your area where you need to tell what kind of attacks are happening. Then when it comes to polling question, I will launch a polling question. Then these are the threats. Most probably we will bounce this, and it should be a general discussion. Also, Matthew, feel free to add your input wherever you think that if you have any story to tell, what happened with your client, and that's how you helped, that will go pretty well. Hamid is more on the technical side, so he will do those things like that.
Okay.
So, Joseph, can you say golden words if you hear your any of the words?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. It seems like you are alive.
I don't know what was going on with that other computer. Because it was working yesterday and then it just kept shutting off and going on.
Okay. So then I really don't want to be on that. So can you be a presenter and then you can moderate this?
Yeah, let me pull up the presentation real quick.
I can stop here, right? Mine, so that way you can show. Please go ahead.
Mohammed, there's a little bit of like not a lot of clarity in your microphone, or maybe there's like a little bit of echo, or it's maybe coming off the walls a little bit. Do you want me to just kind of, as you go through the slides, how would you like me to participate? Just kind of jump in? Do you want to ask me questions? I was going to just maybe talk a little bit about what we've seen on the claim side as it relates to some of the trends we're seeing, or some of the exposures that are out there.
Right. Yes, I think that's the issue, right? Joseph is putting his name Zana Bajwado, right? Smart guys. Yes, I think you should tell like the case study. You can tell the reference on the claim side. So Joseph, will you be open to moderate? Did you catch up with the team before? Because you took 30 minutes to log in and there were only 2 minutes left.
No, I didn't have very much time to talk with anyone. I was trying to talk with Ed, but it wasn't going through very well.
Okay, so then can you become a presenter here, and do you want to moderate, or how do you want to do that?
I could present it. If you want to moderate it still, that would probably be a better idea, I would think.
Right.
Since I haven't had time. But I can share my screen if you'd like.
Yes, please. Share the screen. And also you need to bring that whole screen. Yes.
Can you see it all right? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the entire presentation going to take, what, 45 minutes, 30 minutes?
Yes, these are the housekeeping items. In order to get the CP, they need to get 50 minutes on the call. Yes, 50.
It's already time, I think.
So, should we start now?
And I assume you open it up to questions at the end?
Yes, if people ask some questions, we can relate that to. I will be going back and forth. I will turn off my camera when the question comes. I will, and during that, if I need to add certain things, I will add. But I would say Joseph, your job is to Matthew is on the technical side. He can, sorry, say Saeed is on the technical side. He can share a lot of things with you, right? But on the practical side, on the insurance side, the cases, what happened, then Matthew can add in. There was another guy who said he will join. I'm not sure if he will show up or not. If he shows up, good. You can also ask him. He's also on the technical side. He's working with the outsource CFO, and they're providing the IT services to bigger hedge funds. Okay. So should I start?
Sure.
Yeah.
And Joseph, give a try. Moderate. No worries. Even if it doesn't go well, that's fine. You will learn.
All right.
Everyone start from somewhere. No worries. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to start. It's already 1 minute late, so I'm going to start. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our webinar series, latest cybersecurity threats and best practices for alternative investment funds. We have a unique people on this webinar. They can bring a lot of expertise and experience in that space. One of my colleague, Joseph and Hamid, are joining, and then we have here Matthew, who has been working with the fund managers on cybersecurity test claims and all that. He's looking things from a different angle. So let's go for some housekeeping items, right? One of that is that this is the CPE certificate. All the attendees will get the CPE certificate if attend 50 minutes and answer 4 out of 5 questions. They can get the CPE. So let me ask for everyone to make an intro. Start with Matthew. Matthew, please tell us about your firm and all that.
Sure, and thank you for having me on the panel here today, Mohammed. Yeah, I'm Matthew Kreider. I'm an insurance advisor with Pet Shower Insurance. We're a commercial broker based on Long Island, just outside New York City. We work nationwide, 67 years in the business. We work in a variety of industries, but we do specialize in insuring asset managers, including hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, and real estate. And what we've seen with the rise of wire fraud and ransomware, among others, we've seen cybercrime has become a major exposure for financial firms. And we view cybersecurity as really your best defense. However, nothing's foolproof. So the cyber insurance serves as a critical safety net for firms both big and small. But yeah, thank you for having me. I look forward to going through this.
Awesome. Hamid, please make an intro.
I'm Hamid. I've been qualified from Naval Postgraduate School, and I'm doing cybersecurity. I'm working with fund services. Besides that, I've been working with a number of organizations earlier. My main experience is in cybersecurity, particularly in kind of forensic analysis of hardware devices, as well as reverse engineering of malwares, which we identify during the course of our cybersecurity. My main time with AI, well, like Akram Associates, has been like more than around a year now, and we have been looking after all the cyber threats we have been facing around, and particularly handling them in a way that we are safeguarding our systems and our data in a better way.
Thank you. Hamid, please proceed if you want to say something.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll be part of this, and I'm grateful to be part of this webinar. I'll be looking and providing all the information which I have in this in the field of cybersecurity during the course of webinar. Thank you.
Just give a little bit brief intro for Hamid. Our firm was attacked 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and Hamid came and helped us out, and we took a permanent position. of cybersecurity. So he has been helping our firm for the past year and a half, 2 years on cybersecurity threats, and it is a daily task. Every organization needs, even though we are focused here on alternative investment funds, but matter of fact, every organization needs cybersecurity person to save clients' data and also make sure that we are not open for too much risk for some lawsuits. Joseph is going to help me out on this because of my commitments. I may not be able to moderate, so Joseph will help me out in the coming in this hour. So Joseph, can you please make an intro?
Yeah, so my name is Joseph Preslumsky. I work for Ackerman Associates, and I'm located in their Cary office. I don't have the largest background in cybersecurity. I mainly work in the audit department for Ackerman, and I'm here today to assist with moderating and also to hopefully learn a lot at the same time.
And Joseph, please move your screen too, because it's still at the first page. As things move along, you need to. Okay, so let's start, right? As everyone knows, that alternative investment fund is our bread and butter for our firm and for most of the people who are attending this. So I will ask this question to Said. Said, what do you think? What's the landscape of cyber threats the U.S. firms are facing?
Well, the landscape is very fast, but since it is kind of like an organization which is looking after the funds and hedge funds and other investment services, so the main threat is towards the data, which is particularly of the clients, which incorporates a number of things in which their social security number, their account details, their companies and their profiles. So whatever is related to the clients, that's important. Like, and on the other side, the companies which we are like companies in collaboration with, like if Akrams is working with another firm, so the data which they are sharing with the other firm, that's of importance. That's kind of a gold mine for people who are into this offensive side of cyber, or looking for this data which they use for carrying out multiple kinds of things, which include identity theft, that includes impersonating to be somebody else, for getting their account details, their getting into their accounts, making money out of like money transferring through the scams, call scams, as well as hacking their systems for getting account information, their bank accesses. That's how all that information which is held with a firm like which is into this investment kind of thing. So that data which we are using, which we are processing from such a service, is important to the malicious people. So safeguarding that is an important factor, and cybersecurity comes in that part.
Awesome. We are going to take a little bit back turn, and Joseph, can you please bring Fund Services Group profile? Our another distinguished guest, Clifford, has joined. Matter of fact, he's late because of some technical issues. So, Cliff, please make an intro so we can get the ball on before one more guest. We can't hear you, Cliff. No, we can't hear. Okay, so it seems like we are facing some difficulties with Cliff. I think we can continue the conversation. Cliff, I think once you figure that out, then please let us know. We ask you to make an intro. Go ahead to the next screen, Joseph. Next, where we started. Okay, next. Okay, Matthew, my question to you is that tell us from the insurance industry point of view, right? Because these fund managers, always there will be some breach, right? And what's the legal responsibility? Obviously, you're not an attorney, but how the insurance and claims come in and help them.
Yeah, this is one of the primary features of a cyber policy. If there's a data breach, it's not only, there's a lot of expenses involved in that, compliance, legal fees. Often if there's a data breach, you may be required to set up communication to all of your clients or employees that have been affected, whose data has been compromised. So they will pay for, setting up a call center. It also can track, after the data breach has occurred, ID tracker expenses for those customers and the employee. It also, pays for what we call first-party expenses, which may include like forensics investigation. So there's a lot of expenses that are involved in this that the a cyber insurance policy can pay for. The other thing too that not a lot of people are aware of is that I kind of explain it like a prepaid crisis event policy, because it will bring in, insurance company will bring in the resources, whether it's legal or cybersecurity. If you don't have a cybersecurity firm that you're working with, that can come on and mitigate those losses and respond.
Thank you, Matthew. It is quite helpful. I think one of the reasons you can't speak because you were joined as a attendee. You should join as a panelist. I think our IT team would ask you to join the right way so you can participate in that. So I think our IT team is going to reach out to you shortly. Thank you, Matthew, once again. Okay, so go to the next screen, Joseph. These are a lot of ransomware attacks, and so you need to differentiate, that how what is the difference between ransomware and phishing, and different terms are being used because a lot of people really don't understand that, and how these attacks can be prevented by the fund managers.
Yeah, ransomware attack is one of the most kind of a threat, and the most significant threat nowadays in the market. It's not just related to the fund services only. It is related to all organizations which are maintaining data. So it's kind of like a thing in which the ransomware attacker basically gets hold of they kind of hold your data captive, and then they encrypt it in a form that you cannot use it. So in a simple words, we can say that they just put your data all into a bar and behind the bars, and do not let you access that unless you pay some amount to them. And that is through, they ask for payment through banks, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. So there are a number of ways they can ask for the ransom. So with the ransomware attack, it is basically, kind of keeping the data captive in a form which is encrypted. The key is held with them, and once they are paid, they keep the key to give you access back. On the other side, phishing attack and phishing attack is one of the most common attack. If we talk about the ratio of it, phishing attack is the most common one, most prominent one, which is used by these malicious actors, and they use this attack to get into the systems. So they try to social engineer you in a way that people think that they are the actual one. They are from the organization. They pretend to be someone who is known to you by their email address or from the name they are giving to their email addresses, and then they send out these emails to you, making you to click on some link or making you to download some document or some file, and then making it to run. So in that way, they get access to your computer. They maliciously deploy something on your system to get access to your data, to your systems, and then this is also used as a way to like deploying viruses, ransomwares, and other kind of malicious codes. So the most threatened one nowadays is ransomware. On the other side, this phishing attacks, and malware attacks are already very common. And to protect ourselves, to guard the data, the best kind of response to a ransomware is to keep backup of all the data very oftenly. It is said that one should have a data daily, and in big firms who can afford, they usually keep data on hourly basis, so that if there is some compromises, there are some kind of threats onto their system, some kind of like activity onto the system, they can restore back the data. uh, Although this is for the small firms, this kind of a service is not like is easy to keep in terms of hourly basis. So small firms tend, or they should basically keep a data backup on at least on at least daily basis. In that way, if there is a ransomware attack onto their system, they can restore back. So ransomware is kind of a thing which the ransomware attackers basically ask for a lot of money, in terms of once they know the data held with the firm or the company is of very critical importance. Similarly, to safeguard against such kind of any kind of these attacks, basically is the most important thing is the awareness of people, so they should understand how these attacks are basically done. As we see in a very common way, the number of attacks, which includes direct intrusion into the systems or the devices, is very rare. The sophisticated kind of attacks are very rare. They are very non-common to smaller organizations. So the gateway to organizations like hedge funds or small businesses, and the best way to be in, the malicious actors use basically phishing attacks, or spoofing attacks, or they basically use social engineering to get people convinced to click on some links, or to download thing, or run a malicious code onto their systems. So the best way, if as we understand it, as we have been following it, the best way to guard ourselves, to guard a firm, to guard organizations from such malicious attempts, is to first is to have a cybersecurity policy, and then the other thing is to make people aware of the latest trends going on, that how people are basically attempting. If we talk about akrams, we have been like having attacks, a number of attacks on regular basis, and whatever attack we have identified, we have circulated that to all of our employees, so that they know that this is the way that the malicious actors are attacking or using to get into the systems, and that's how we are protecting our systems. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, can you speak now? I hope you can. Can you say something? Can you?
You guys can let me know if you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Now we can get the party started. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be part of this panel. Just real quickly, I am the Director of IT over at Fund Services Group, and we are a CFO firm, an IT firm, and a general, investing firm. So, in terms of cybersecurity, we definitely do see all the issues that are out there in the marketplace. And, if there's one thing I could say about what we can do, is always about addressing the domains of security as they deal with inventory, your end devices, and your cloud environment.
And if I could add something to the ransomware, just to echo what Syed had mentioned, from an insurance perspective, the claims perspective, ransomware is by far the most claim that we're seeing now. According back in earlier this year, Net Diligence, which reports on cyber claims, said the average ransomware demand is now about almost $500,000, with a total payout of exceeding over $800,000. So it's significant, and it's frequent, and we are seeing a lot of it. And I think a big part of that is just the fact that these cyber criminals are really going after the most our weakest link, which is our employees, who we're all subject to human error. So like he said, that we're seeing the spoofing, we're seeing the phishing emails, and clicking on the wrong attachments.
Thank you.
So it's definitely important.
Thank you, Matthew. So I have one question asked by participants asked. Is the monetary gain is the only motivation for bad actors, or there are other motivations to? I will ask Christopher to respond because he has that's one participant.
Hey, your voice is not clear, Mohammed.
Sorry, I'm saying it. One of the question attendee is asking: is the monetary gain is the only motivation for bad actors?
I heard
Well,
the question, but you'd still need to do something about your mic. You're coming over very digital. As far as money being the only motivation, I would say no. Some people enjoy the act of just destroying something, right? So they want to see how far into a system they can get, see what damage they can cause, just to put themselves out there on like a news headline saying like, hey, so and so company has suffered a massive ransomware. It's crippled them for days. Like, why wouldn't you want your name posted on such an event, right? So there's more motivations there than just the monetary side.
yeah, I'll second Colorford, but in a way that ransomware are kind of like different. The people who are into this ransomware business, they could be said that they are into the monetary thing, but rest, other kind of attack in which defacing of a website and deletion of data, corrupting the data, disrupting the services. That kind of attacks are basically could be done by people who are not interested in money only. They are interested in like gaining fame. They are into like they feel happy by disturbing people or companies. So that's kind of well, I think the importance of monetary thing is a bit different. Ransomware, particularly, I would say, because when a ransomware is seen, this is not done normally by just one individual or two individuals, kind of a team which is working behind normally behind a ransomware attack. So in ransomware, we cannot say by like particularly that ransomwares are not monetary or not related to monetary, but they are particularly related to monetary benefits. Other than those attacks, they are basically they have multiple options, like multiple ways, multiple means behind.
Awesome. It's a time to launch a first polling question. Can we go to the next polling screen? Okay, we can go to the next screen. There's another polling question. You can ask that one too, so that I can knock this out. What is concern related to third-party vendors?
So I think we need to talk on this first, then we can ask a question about it.
Okay. Okay. Then just to reply, then we can, I think, start again. Okay. Next screen, third-party risk here. Okay. Inside results. Go to the next screen, third-party risk. Yes. So, what do these risks exist here? Like, how do you guys manage that risk of the third parties who are involved in that?
So third-party risk is basically related to like once we are connected to other companies or other firms, and since we do share data with them, they do share data with us, so we both become, or both of the firms, both of the companies become vulnerable to the cyber attack. So if any of those loses their systems or any of that goes compromised, then the other one is also affected, since the information held by the other firm is compromised. So we need to understand that whatever we are sharing with the other firm is secure. We should understand that the company or the third party we are connecting with has a cybersecurity policy, has the cybersecurity apparatus in place, has the people who understand cybersecurity. So it's just not like we are looking towards our own boundaries and not looking towards the others. Since they have a gateway into us, they have a way into us, so they may lead to the compromise of data.
Next thing is Joseph. So Cliff, have you guys experienced these supply chain attacks? These are quite common. What's your thoughts are on the loss third-party risk also?
Mohammed, I think you need to reconnect because your voice is quite, robotic kind of voice.
Joseph, can you please take a lead from here?
Yeah. So, Cliff, Mohammed was wanting to ask, have you dealt with any supply chain attacks in your time?
So, if in terms of dealt with any supply chain attacks in the recent, no. Usually, when it comes to supply chain attacks, you want to initially vet your vendor and make sure that their security policies kind of line up with yours, so that you don't, there's not an obvious gap. But besides that, usually when you see an incoming supply chain attack, it's usually from one vector where a vendor is sending you an email, but it might be blasting it to your entire company. So at that point, there's a few things you can do. You can either shut down access to that account, but that has to be on the sender side, or what you can do is cut the communication. So anything being received on your side, it will be blocked and set into quarantine. So that's the only issue I can really see with supply chain attacks, other than, like, say, if you do have that vulnerable person that opens up the email
And I would just add too that, we've seen, like there's an example, it's in a different industry. CDK was a SaaS vendor for auto dealers, and they got shut down, and their operations were completely shut down. So these auto dealers couldn't use their software systems, couldn't use their platform, could not receive payment. So I would just kind of add too that we've seen there can be a contingent business interruption if you have a vendor, a supplier that, because they have a cyber attack, even though you don't have the cyber attack, they get shut down. That can have implications to your operations as well.
Okay, I would like to add further into it, and as we have heard of the Dell issue with the hardware implants into their server designs, which were sent into the US, and it was a hot story by Bleeping Computers a few years back. That's one kind of supply chain attack which affected number of servers and raised number of security concerns with the hardware which have been procured or has come through the supply chain. On the other side, the SolarWinds attack, which was very common, which was seen all those systems, which all those companies who had this SolarWinds software installed to their systems were compromised last year, probably, in which a number of servers of many of the companies with SolarWinds server-side software deployed got compromised. So when we talk about big companies, it's kind of very important in looking towards this side. But for the smaller firms, I would like to add that once we are buying something from the market, if I say that if a company has to be attacked by malicious actors, they can send into a keyboard or a mouse with implants or with a modified thing to your system, into your system, which if connected starts logging your data or sending out the data to the malicious actors, and in that way they can get hold of your credentials and then access the data. So we need to understand that supply chain attacks are not just related to big firms, but small firms like small hedge services funds, investment fund services providers. They also have to see from where they are buying. Like they should understand that the vendor they are getting their things from is a legitimate, is a firm which has a renown, which is known for its services, and not a small person or a company who can like lead towards giving you a malicious hardware which may lead to compromise of your data or systems.
All right, thank you. I'll go on to the next slide. All right, so Matthew, would you like to talk about some of the best practices in countering phishing and ransomware attacks on multiple funds, or?
Sure. I think with the population that we're talking about, alternative asset managers, a big issue here is wire fraud. In addition to the ransomware, which we spoke about. So getting that phishing or getting that instruction from a client who we may think is a client, it's important to have those protocols in place where you're verifying, you're authenticating the validity of that instruction. Quite often, what we're seeing now is, we used to get these phishing emails with misspellings, and it just doesn't even sound like it's coming from our client. Now they've gotten very sophisticated. They're attacking our business emails and compromising and inserting themselves in the communication that you're having with your clients. So it's important to one protocol, there's one of many, I'm sure, is making sure that any information that's in, let's say, the email instruction, including phone numbers or email addresses, do not rely on that information. Call the phone number that you have on file with that client to verify and authenticate. That's very important. The other thing too on the insurance side is making sure your insurance policy covers social engineering, which is what we're talking about here. Not all policies have it. Just because you have a cyber policy doesn't mean you can check the box and not worry about it anymore. They're very different. Every cyber policy is, there's no standard form. They're all different. When I often review them, I'm seeing often gaps, especially as it relates to the wire fraud and the social engineering. Some limitations we see in those policies are they're often sublimiting the how much they'll pay in the event like your employee gets tricked into transferring money into the wrong place. For example, you might have a $5 million cyber policy, but it only covers $100,000 if they for the funds that are lost. Another common thing we see too is with fund managers, you're dealing with other people's money, not your own money. It's pooled money, and often there's exclusions if an employee transfers other people's money and causes that loss after making that mistake. So you got to really check your cyber policy to make sure it's written to really it's tailored to your operations. And another thing too, when we're describing the just to piggyback a little bit on the supply chain, another good practice is just to make sure your vendors have cyber insurance as well, because it's going to be their policy that responds if they're the ones that are attacked. So that might be, as well as checking their procedures and their cybersecurity policies. You also want to check their insurance policy.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to chip in on this, or?
We have pretty covered it well, but a few things regarding phishing and ransomware attacks. as already told, the best thing is to make people aware of the latest trends going on, like what cybersecurity is and how the latest trends, like how the malicious actors are currently doing it in the market, what are the trends, how they are creating the links, how they are sending the emails, what they look like. So that kind of things, if known to people, if they are aware of, they can easily, counter these kind of attacks and safeguard the data as well as the company platform.
Agree with everything that has been said so far. If I had to make one other comment, I would say that look at your staff. Look at your security staff. Maybe once a year or maybe once a quarter, go through and analyze: is this doing the sufficient job? Is my EDR actually catching things that are suspicious, or is it just allowing everything through? Look at your phishing policy, or look at the tool that's protecting your emails. Is it catching a lot of those phishing? Is it catching a lot of the spoofs, or is it allowing it through? Do you need to add a second tool ahead of it in order to add a secondary filter? Check things like your DNS. Do you even have a DKIM set inside your DNS to provide that verification for others that, hey, all the emails coming from me are legitimate? And just to kind of circle back to what they're talking about, your security awareness program, is it sufficient enough? We know the major actors out there like Noble4, we know SafeTitan, we know Huntress, but have you evaluated it against your employees? Is the material that they're presenting relevant for your company? And then even to go even further, once you've found the security awareness tool that you like, and you've conducted this anti-phishing, this anti-spoof, focus on those users that you see are your bad actors more often than not, and then try to educate them to narrow down how many people are on that list until you have only like the one or two people that are your known bad actors for clicking on links. So that's how I would approach it.
On to the next one. All right, so regulatory compliance and legal concerns. Would anyone like to discuss any compliances or concerns that SEC or any other regulation body might have?
Well, I would just say that, there's certainly legal consequences, potentially some legal consequences with getting a breach, with getting attacked. I think the biggest thing there is just responding as quick as you can, calling your cybersecurity guy, calling your insurance person, calling the FBI, and being just the quicker to respond, the better position you'll be to address those issues. The other thing too is, being in a highly compliant industry in finance, as we know, there's more regulations coming down the pike that will require you to respond in a certain way to the cybersecurity and the communication. This also lends itself to potential reputational damage to your firm, because you're going to be required to let everyone know that there's been a breach, there's been a cyber compromise. So having systems in place to respond to the potential reputational damage as well. Having a PR firm that you can reach out to. Cyber insurance company will also supply those vendors and those resources to you as well in the event of a cyber attack.
Not really any concerns about what the SEC has deployed, but I would say make sure that your disaster recovery plan is set and that you're going through the practice, going through that tabletop exercise on a cadence that's good for you, I would say. So you never want to run into that situation where you do have an issue, you do have a breach, and you don't know what steps to take first, what the first 5 or 10 steps. So while that communication is very great, knowing who the stakeholders are in that communication chain, knowing who needs to be held responsible first, until you get down to until you get down to the point where communication is not really an issue now. You're talking about remediation and repair.
So just a question on this. So if you don't have proper safeguards in place and then there is a leak at your firm, what could be the repercussions that happen because of that? Are there any legal repercussions? I feel like you might be able, well, you'd probably lose a lot of your clients if you ended up reporting it to all of them, but what kind of legal repercussions can happen?
Well, if you were, let's say the breach was directly your responsibility and you have a lot of client data, if one of your policies was that you would do nothing to compromise your own systems, but if the evidence shows that you did, then you're talking about having to possibly pay your client, you know, the money that they need in order to recover their data.
Yeah, I mean, there's a potential liability suit to someone's personal information that's been compromised by your system. You can come back and sue you. So I think it's important to, there's a legal question for the attorneys. So at the time of a breach, recruiting legal counsel, I think, is pretty critical.
All right, so I'm going to do the next poll real quick. All right. All right, so lack of awareness and training. Would anyone like to speak on this?
So lack of training and awareness is the thing I've been emphasizing from the beginning, and this is the most important part in terms of employees, training and awareness. Unless they are aware and trained through practice or through training sessions which include phishing attacks, controlled phishing attacks, as well as making them aware of what is happening around through this the threat intelligence which is being circulated through a number of companies, particularly like renowned companies, Symantec and McAfee and other companies. They always share kind of their threat intelligence in which what is happening is being shared publicly. So taking out things which matters to you and then away, like sending it all across to the employees so that they know what is happening around and making them become part of the cybersecurity team by safeguarding against the threats. So that's an important part, and I don't think like without awareness, without continuous training towards the employees by the IT team, by the cyber team, one cannot like get away from these threats, because landscape is ever evolving, and they are coming up with new attack types, like new attack vectors. And unless we train our employees, unless we train our people, we cannot safeguard data or systems. So from my point of view, I always emphasize towards this, because besides what IT team or cyber team is doing towards the networks and systems, this is one kind which one kind which always pays you well. And as we all know that there is no past human stupidity, we call it that way in cyber field. So unless we train them or make them aware, we cannot lower the figures in this in the safeguard part. That's from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say, I would echo that. I mean, from the cybersecurity, from the cyber criminal standpoint, trying to breach someone's firewall is a lot harder than trying to trick an employee. So now it's even to get cyber insurance now, and to have social engineering coverage on there, which protects it in the event of like wire fraud. Social engineering is when an employee is tricked into transferring money. To have that coverage now, they're starting to require employee training. They want to see what protocols you have in place for wire authentication in your procedures, as well as training your employees on cybersecurity.
All right. Did you have anything to say as well, Clifford? Or should I get to the next slide?
Everything everyone has said is accurate. The only other thing, it needs to be part of your company culture. So whatever your mission statement is for your company, cybersecurity needs to be part of that as well. They go hand in hand, and that's a must.
Thank you. The weak authentication access controls. Would anyone like to speak on this? Of how it can lead to possible data breaches or possible safeguard, or different sensitive information getting out?
So when we talk about weak authentication and access control, this is the most common kind of door for the cyber criminals. So if the cybersecurity or the security policies are not in place, if people are keeping small little passwords, very common passwords, or you don't have multi-factor or two-factor authentication or access control over your data, then it leads to it may lead towards compromise of identity, compromise of credentials, and in that way definitely compromise of data. So weak authentication in terms of hardware, if the hardware or the IT team is managing default passwords or not managing strong passwords, or may lead easily towards network side or hardware side attacks or system side attacks. On the other side, if that is weak by if you don't have strong passwords or authentications on your logins, in that case criminals can get into the accounts very easily. So it's a very common thing nowadays, and a very common phenomenon in terms of compromise of hardware, probably mainly because in terms of software side, like on Windows, you cannot have small little passwords in a normal way. So I would say that do not, if you are not looking towards the default things, if you're not changing your security policies in the right way, which is like defining password lengths and then defining the authentication over critical data, access control over the critical data, then this is a very threatening thing. So that's all. Thank you.
So if you are keeping a stance where you have weak authentication and security controls, then whatever happens to you is on you, and it should happen. Let me just say it like that. There's no reason for you to maintain a system in your environment that has a weak security or authentication control. We as leaders in this space, we have to do our due diligence. We have to review that any technology or any platform that you're onboarding has to have some minimal specifications that they need, right? So it can't allow passwords to be less than 8 characters, a minimum of 8 characters, or it can't have it can't allow you to set up an account without some kind of 2FA or multi-factor being implemented as, as mandatory. And then you, on your side, you need to now come up with some kind of tool, spreadsheet, whatever have you, to track the access matrix that you're then implementing in all these systems, and then review it. It's only through doing all these different things that you then maintain a high, security stance versus a weak access control, where you don't look at who has what permissions, meaning that you run the risk of permission bleed over, where somebody has way more permissions than they need to. Maybe you have termed users that still have access to certain systems, even though you should have, removed all of their access to any system. So if you have weak access controls and you're finding yourself in a position where you're having a lot of data, check those things.
Yeah, and from the claims perspective, we find if there's been a claim, if there's been a breach, you're more likely to get it again, because they smell blood, they go for it. They know that you're weak, so you're more susceptible to a future attack. I've been told too that you don't have to have the most secure house on the block, but you definitely don't want to be the least secure on the block.
All right.
Further to that, further to that, I would just like to add one more thing. That is that this, weak authentication or weak password policies. If we talk about like last decade, so this has transformed very, very, rapidly. I was just going through a document a few days back, and more than 20 billion passwords have been compromised or have been published in the market openly, and they have been cracked through by using NVIDIA RTX 4090. So we need to understand that what is in the market and how easily it become to crack passwords or to crack authentication things. So you need to be making a balance with that, because if you understand that there are machines in the market which are easily available at a very lesser price, and they can lead to cracking of passwords very rapidly, then you need to understand that 8 character passwords or a 14 character password won't be a big thing nowadays. So you need to understand that, and you need to set your policies according to the equipment or things available in the market.
All right, thank you. So we're coming towards the end of our time here, so I'm going to go ahead with the last polling question, and then we can do closing remarks afterwards. So for closing remarks, I just want to ask if each one of you could suggest one thing to any of the firms or funds that are listening in, what would be one cybersecurity policy that you think that everyone should implement, or one thing that everyone should take away from this presentation? Matthew, if you'd like to start.
I mean, I'll just kind of stick to my corner of the universe in the cyber insurance and let these gentlemen who know far more than me on cybersecurity. But I would just say get a cyber policy in place and have someone a broker that really knows what they're doing and making sure that it really is protecting your specific operations.
All right. Cliff, would you like to say anything?
Absolutely, I 1000% agree on having a great cyber insurance policy. To add to that, the other thing that I think is absolutely paramount is having some kind of cyber report that you're going through on a quarterly basis that aligns to the compliance that you're having to meet. So in this space with the SEC, you know, the one that I like to align it to is with CMMC. It goes through all the different domains that you could be worried about in your organization, and it will prepare you for any kind of audit that you may, you know, encounter. So definitely CMMC.
So in my point of view, like besides having all necessary cybersecurity arsenal, which includes, you know, antiviruses or endpoint securities, firewalls, and everything on the hardware or software side, the most, most weak factor in cybersecurity is the human one. So unless we train our resources, our manpower, our employees on cybersecurity, safeguarding against cyber threats is a very difficult and no resource, no kind of arsenal, no software, no hardware can protect or safeguard against a threat which is human threat, you know, which is particularly done by human interaction. So besides putting on everything which is required as per the organization security policy, meeting the financial, baselines of a company, training and awareness are the two things I will always emphasize for the employees or the administrators of a company to safeguard against threats.
All right. And then we also have a question from one of the viewers. How much protection can be removed from the final user? If they could add a little more to that, or does anyone understand what that question would be of how much protection can be removed from the final user?
From the final user.
Yeah.
I can't see the question.
Or actually, we have another one. So what would be the best practice to mitigate ransomware risks?
Invest in a very good EDR. You need something that could potentially catch it if it's like one of those 0 days that it does not, nobody really has a heuristic for. So EDR is really important. If you have servers in the cloud, and let's say you're running a database that people can access, make sure you have a web application firewall that you believe in. Conduct your own audits internally to make sure that, you know, so again, with the security awareness training, make sure that everyone has a minimum level that they're maintaining of, you know, in terms of awareness, what to look for in a ransomware attack, what to look for in an email that's trying to deliver a ransomware payload. I think that's going to be it. You can add things like SIEM in order to maybe pull some more data but you're going to get a lot of noise. So I don't know how effective that is for you. Not for a lot of finance firms, I don't believe that a SIEM product is going to be very useful unless they have a ton of cloud firewalls or accepting public traffic.
All right.
Well, in my point of view, for against ransomware, the best thing is to have backup, and backup and only backup. Because this fight between cat and mouse fight, it is sometimes the mouse, sometimes the cat. So you cannot like keep on investing a lot of in security, because security is always expensive. So backup is the best practice against ransomware. So unless you have that, you are a loser.
Agreed.
And I would just add it with this ransomware coverage that provides you resources such as cyber negotiators. I heard of a recent claim where the criminals were asking for 1.5 million, and then they brought in a negotiator and they got it down to 200,000, and the policy paid for that. So that when all else fails, because nothing is 100% foolproof, having that safety net does help.
All right, thank you. So I think that's all the time that we have for today. So thanks everyone for attending, and thank you everyone for helping out with this poll today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, everybody.
Everybody take care. Bye-bye.